This is the Final Word Daily, the West Indies Australia Daily, Day 1 from Kingston, Jamaica. Geoff and Bharat Sundaresan. After the first day and the first night of the day-night test, the show is brought to you by Maurice Blackburn, the #1 plaintiff law firm in Australia. But we're not in Australia, Bharat. We're in Jamaica. And first, before we do anything else, you need to tell us about a day of test cricket in the space of 30 seconds.
It was a day in two parts. Before the lights came on, and then once the late lights came on. Before the lights came on, it was slow progress. Sam Constance and Usman Khawaja fought. They struggled, but they got through the new ball. And then Sam Constance got out. And then Usman Khawaja played really well. Then he got out to a great catch. And then Cam Green got out after he got a start. And then the lights came on. And Steve Smith saw a clock and he said, no, you need to get it covered. And then he got out. And then Australia just went into chaos mode. Mm-hmm. It was chaos theory. They started hitting everything and they just wanted to get bowled out because they wanted to bowl. And they did. So they were all out for 225, but they got just one wicket. But it was off a non-opener because both openers were in the hospital by the time West Indies started their innings.
That is a pretty good summary. That is what happened today. We'll come back to Steve Smith more in the Hall of Fame, I suspect, because there are a few things that I need to go through with you in the Hall of Fame. If you're watching the video of this, you will see that we're not at Sabina Park because the lights went off after they went on. So we thought that recording in the dark would probably be suboptimal. So we're back in the hammock. Well, we're not both in the hammock. We could probably both fit
it's a huge hammock.
It's a huge hammock. Maybe by day 3 we'll see if we can both fit in the hammock. But what a strange day. I mean, the way it started wasn't strange. The middle session wasn't strange. The first two sessions, 3 wickets fell. They were, 3 for 157?
Yeah.
Am I going to say? I think that's right. And things were going relatively normally. You know, Cam Green made 46, looked decent, probably looked the most convincing he's looked at first drop. We'll come back to Khawaja and Constance in a bit as well. But that last session was so haywire, and it's exactly as you said. The Australians were once Steve Smith gets out and Bo Webster gets out immediately afterwards. And from that point, they just went, well, let's whack them and let's see if we can get something, because if we get 200 and a bit, that could well be enough, given that West Indies batting has struggled so much against Australia's bowling. They wanted to bowl at night. So Alex Carey came out and just blazed. I mean, hit the ball so cleanly, but not for long enough. Travis Head didn't blaze, couldn't blaze, was playing a stodgy sort of innings. At one point, Head is 14 off 37 balls. Carey is 14 off 6 balls, which was, I mean, just amusing in and of itself. And then once they get out, Cummins just goes sloggerific, hits 3 sixes, makes 20-odd and holes out. And the whole thing was wrapped up pretty quickly, and then they get 9 overs at West Indies and take 1 wicket. But it was such a strange shift from, we're not going to bother trying to graft our way to 300 here. We're very happy to get 220 and be bowled out.
I really thought if Australia had a chance today to do it, you know how you could in the old cricket. I haven't played a cricket game on PlayStation or video on the computer for years now. But back in the day when you could just simulate innings, that's exactly what they tried to do. They were like, can we just press a button and then get on with our bowling? Because there was no interest, and it was declaration batting on the first evening. And Cam Green...
I've never seen anything like this, I don't think, on day 1 of a test match.
And even in pink ball tests. And pink ball tests, we always talk about declaration and all that. And Cam
Maybe
Green...
Maybe Edgbaston 2023 was a little like that at the end of
when
day 1.
When they just declared.
But they were whacking before the declaration.
They were whacking all day long. But this was clearly conditions-based and also opposition-based. There's no doubt that the Australians do not rate West Indies' batting, and
the evidence supports that thesis.
Very much so.
They bowled them out inside 35 overs twice in the last 4 innings.
And they also would have noticed that the 2 openers left the field. And I wasn't kidding when I said when Brandon King and poor Kevlin Anderson, and we'll talk about him later for sure, when they walked out to bat, the 2 openers, Mikhail Louis, who injured his knee while trying to dive at cover, and I thought he just grazed his knee, but then it turned out he had done something. Within 2 minutes, he was unable to walk, and he was being helped off the ground.
Back in the side for this match after playing in England last year, and then injuring himself early, which was strange.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and then And the strangest of thing is in the very next over, John Campbell, Steve Smith plays this fearsome sweep shot, gets him right under the throat there at short leg. And he leaves the field, so they're without the two openers.
And then Elzari Joseph has left the field. He goes for scans. They said he was experiencing discomfort while bowling. Okay, well, yeah, bowling is uncomfortable.
It is.
No one's been comfortable while bowling, I would have thought. But he came back. He was fielding by the end of the inning.
Towards the end. So it made sense what Australia were trying to do. I think because batting seemed so difficult in terms of run scoring in the first two sessions, where they had to scratch and scrounge around for every run that they could get, or everyone before Steve Smith walked out to bat. I think it just felt even more extreme that they just walked out once the lights came on and said, you know what, we're going. And even Steve Smith's batting after the break or in that last session before he got out was quite manic in itself. So yeah, very interesting. I mean, Travis Head was trying to. It felt like he, after all the success he's had in this series, he just went into this lack of timing warp where he just couldn't get out of it. He was trying to hit every ball, but nothing came over the middle of the bat. Nothing came, or most times he missed. And he was so frustrated, and no surprises he got out trying to slog at one.
And West Indies bowled bloody well. You know, we should make that point too. And a couple of the moments in the field, which we'll come to. I mean, they did drop a catch early in the cordon, but after that, really got it together and actually looked like a genuine cricket team at that point. So you've got the Constas and Khawaja situation. They both get out in the same way that they've been getting out. They did last for a while. So Constas faced 53 balls, I'm going to say, but got dropped, should have been run out at least once. They had a couple of other jittery runs where he was getting sent back. Like it wasn't fluent, but he was trying to do the right thing and not attack the ball too much. So 17 off 53 balls, and then just gets the one coming back into him. Justin Graves has been a quiet achiever in this series. He's chipped in with the ball, hasn't done heaps with the bat. He's had a couple of low scores, but he's tried on a couple of occasions. He's a cricketer who's got genuine ability in both facets, and I hope that he's someone who is able to have a career that'll help that flourish. So he gets the ball to cut into Constas, which hits him on the pad the same way he's been getting out, and then Khawaja gets the one from around the wicket with pace on it that decks a little bit, but he just pushes at it in that same way and edges it. And it was a stunning catch from the keeper. So Shai Hope has had we were justifiably critical of his batting during the match in Grenada, but that take, which probably wouldn't have carried to first slip, had to dive in front of first slip. It wasn't the full push off. So he's bowling to a left-hander, if you can picture it. He didn't fully push off the left foot and fly for it, but he had to get his left foot out of the way and kind of fall and push off his right foot to try to get the stretch, and somehow got it in the ends of the webbing and hung on to that catch.
And because his weight, the angle around the wicket, so the natural wicketkeeper move, he was moving towards his right, so he was moving in the other direction. So you had to stop that and, like you said, kind of jump off,
collapse his left leg under
left leg and take off off his right leg after having changed direction. And it was stunning. It was and for someone just keeping in his third test, and someone who's kept, this is just his 7th first class game in which he's keeping wickets. It was a stunning catch. It was an absolute beauty, and at a time when Usman Khawaja just finally seemed to have got some rhythm. Till then, I thought he looked the best he has in this series till this point. But he was just beginning to break free. He was punching balls through the covers, clipping it away. Gets that edge and the stunning catch. West Indies have dropped so many catches. Shai Hope's catch dropped one as well. But they have taken some remarkable catches. I'm sure we'll come back to the Anderson Phillip one later.
Will we? So Cam Green bats through into the second session with Smith. They both get into the 40s by the time they're done. Green's up to 46, and he looks pretty tidy. He looks pretty composed, and then he gets that ball from, it was Jaden Seals, wasn't it? That was another one. So there were these 3 moments, and that ball is one of them. It's your classic angle in, seam away, beat the push down the line, bowled him off stump. Extraordinary bit of bowling.
I thought the setup was even better than the delivery, the previous delivery, and I think we we are witnessing the rise of something very special. I know there's Shamar Joseph and he's done what he's done with the ball. But Jayden Seales, we've spoken about the numbers and where he stands. But the skill...
Strike rate's under 40. He's got like a Rabada strike rate. And it's not that small a sample size anymore.
He's in his 20th test match. It's a lot. That is quite a bit. But the skills this young man is showing... even later on, and the fire he gave, so he was fined.
It's so great to see because like we were so excited for him to come to Australia when he first came and bowled in
so
Perth,
excited,
and he was so off. He just couldn't get anything right in that Test match, and now you're seeing what he can do when it's really working for him.
And why Kemar Roach is not part of this setup anymore, because they have found a new leader. It's not Alzari Joseph. I think it is Jayden Seales, even though he's the youngest of the three fast bowlers on show. And the skills, every time you see him, he seems to have added something. He was bowling off cutters today. And there was the second spell where it felt like he wanted to get more control of the movement, so he even dropped his pace a little. And the setup to Cam Green was outstanding. This is the previous delivery. He went slightly wide of the crease. So it was outside off stump, pitched it on a virtual fourth stump, and just jagged away from Cam Green, beat his outside edge. And this one, he went slightly closer to the crease. It pitched on around middle stump. Once again, jagged so late that Cam Green thought he had everything covered, and it actually hit top of middle stump, almost closer to middle stump than off stump. It was just the one of those set. I mean, if this was Pat Cummins, you would have said it was genius. It was up to like at that level. It was elite bowling, and we've seen him do this to pretty much every Australian batter in this series.
And then Steve Smith bats until after the second break. I don't know which break is which or what you call them, but gets to just after that break, and by this point he's decided, and what he's said in his press conference after play is that the ball was doing too much to play conservatively, so he decided to be aggressive. But it was a very strange innings. There were a bunch of these shots where he was just throwing the bat at the ball to try to smash it through the offside. He was slicing it over the slip, along the ground, through the slips. He was playing and missing, and it just felt like a matter of time until he nicked one playing like that, and he did. No shape, like he was sort of twisted and contorted as he was absolutely throwing everything at this ball and edges it to first slip. And then that's just the start of the chaos run. You know, Webster gets a ball that lifts and that he tries to fend and keep down, but takes that little edge through. So a second low score in a row for him after he's been so good earlier in the series, and then on it went into that chaos ball part that we've talked about.
And Steve Smith just after the break, and we'll leave the other stuff for the Hall of Fame, but then he got into this little thing with Jayden Seales where he went for this wild shot outside off stump. The ball flew over the slip region for 4. And Jayden Seales had said a couple of things to him in the previous over. On this occasion, it's unlike Steve Smith. He doesn't get into these jousts with anyone. No. So as that ball flies over slip for 4, he takes a couple of steps as he does, because he walked at the bowler as well, so he's already out of his crease. So Seales' follow through comes all the way up to Steve Smith, and Steve Smith stands next to Jayden Seales and shadow practices this shot as if he wanted to hit it over extra cover. And Seales says, no, you tried it, but it went over extra cover, over the slips. And Steve Smith once again gesticulates, saying, no, I'm going to hit you over extra cover. And in the next over, he gets out to Shamar Joseph. So Jayden Seales gives him an almighty send-off. And don't forget, he was...
and then denied this. So in the press conference, because Seales has been fined already in the series for send-offs. So he said, no, that wasn't a send-off. I was pointing at Alzari Joseph, who was standing behind Steve Smith.
and the umpires were on to him immediately. And the umpires just jumped, especially the Smith send-off, because he gave Stark a bit of a send-off as well.
Then he said he was pointing to something.
That's when he said,
He said I was pointing to the crowd.
No, but the Steve Smith thing, he can't escape, because immediately Nitin Menon and Holstock walked up to him. They dragged him out of the huddle to give him a I don't know whether warning or just a stern word. But I mean, I like that about Jayden Seales. But it was a bizarre innings from Steve Smith after the break. He was looking so good before that.
Yeah.
And like I said, Travis said couldn't get...
Do you think it stacks up that, like, I have to throw the bat because it's too hard? It didn't look like, I'm obviously different watching to playing, but it didn't seem like the ball was doing a crazy amount of
I think it just kept nibbling. And even so, I remember even in the 61st over, the ball was still doing enough to keep the batter unsettled. even when Alex Carey came out and batted like a dream, he was still getting balls which was just jagging away at the last second. Everyone, including Justin Graves, and because Alzari didn't bowl more than 7 overs, they had to depend more on Graves, and he gave them 3 wickets. And just on Graves, because he was also one of the guys interviewed for the captaincy role.
Right.
He only played 5 or 6 Test matches at that point. Now you look back and say, he wouldn't have been the worst choice because you see him on the field. He does seem to be a leader. Roston Chase leans on him quite a bit. They played a lot with each other for Barbados,
and he was impressive in Australia.
He was.
When he came to our attention there. So then you have there are a couple of other sublime bits. The Carey shot where he walks down the pitch and drives over cover for 6, but doesn't slam the bat at the ball. Just lifts it. Just sort of chip shot onto the cushion for 6 was gorgeous. And then that's sort of the point where Travis Head goes, well, I need to accelerate too because Carey's hitting them so well. So he tries to go over cover, and you've got Anderson Phillip, who played the last Test, got left out for this one. He's sub-fielding. This ball, I was watching this from ground level because I was sitting down in the crowd at this point, and sort of behind the batter, so I can see mid-off, I can see the ball lift towards extra cover, and I'm trying to do the extrapolation and track and think, will he reach that? And I was thinking, there's no way, like he's not going to get there, he'll get close but won't get there. And then as he was steaming across the turf, I thought, he's going to get close enough to dive and touch it, but he'll sort of fingertip it away, or if he gets it, it's going to come out when he hits the ground. And he dives full length, takes his catch and has to hit the ground really hard, and he's got both arms out in front of him, and he manages to hit the ground with his forearms rather than his elbows to reduce the jarring, and roll over, take the impact out of it, and pops up with the ball. And it was one of those ones where everyone watching on goes, ooh, there are all these noises that people make, kickers, and then the roar erupts. There's a pretty decent local crowd in today, which we didn't expect. Like half the ground is closed off, which sucks, but there were in the other half enough people to get a good bit of noise going and a decent amount of atmosphere, and that was the biggest moment of the night.
He has a name of an Olympian, and that was an Olympics level performance, because he started off, and I said this on radio, it was like he started off doing the 100-meter sprint and then launched into a long jump. He started off
from lane 8. Like there's no way he should have won from there.
No, but then it ended up with him pulling off a long jump. I know it was the other way around. Yeah.
Has anyone tried the head first long jump?
Head first, maybe there you go. Anderson Phillip. Once he's done with cricket, he could represent Trinidad in the Olympics.
Maybe they've been doing it wrong all this time.
There you go. Maybe he's going to change the way long jump is. There are always these pioneers in athletics, especially track and field. But that was, and he caught it in thin air. So, like you said, then he had to land, and he was on the field for quite a bit as a substitute because of all these injuries that West Indies had. It was a stunner, but in a way, it felt like Travis Head had to get out for his own sake. He was getting so frustrated with himself. There was more relief when he got out, and then the innings just and Cummins, the 2 sixes he smashed.
3, I think.
3, but 2 of Jaden Seal's back-to-back deliveries. One he just swiveled and from his hip just hit him over fine leg for 6, and then smashed him over wide long on for 6. And then tried to do it again and was caught on the long on boundary. Yeah. And then Josh Hazlewood, I've never seen him play. That is his zone. He just backs up and tries to hit everything through back. He does sort of
uppercut everything, but he did hit that cut shot a long way to get caught.
Yeah, but the boundary hit of the first ball, I think that's the hardest hit boundaries ever. Yeah. In fact, Bryce McGain, we were doing some radio stuff, and Josh Hazlewood walked past us, and Bryce said, that has to be the hardest. He's like, nah, I've hit them harder. Classic Josh Hazlewood fashion, just walked off. But yeah, I think they could easily have just pressed the button to simulate, because all they wanted was, and Cam Green admitted to it, it was declaration batting on the first evening.
Day one.
Even though it was a pink ball test, you expect crazy things to happen with declaration, but this was next level. Yeah,
so Mitchell Starc was the other one who got clean bowled for naught, backing away, trying to slog one. They were out. They got the early wicket where Starc went through the makeshift opener and a little inside edge, that in-swinger. But West Indies in 9 overs could have lost 3 or 4 the way that they batted against Australia. They've lost 1. They'll have, so Mikhail Louis may not play at all tomorrow is what is what we're hearing. John Campbell was ready. He got back. He was actually
he was
getting
back.
ready to bat number 3, but he couldn't get his pads on in time.
I saw.
So they had to send Ruston Chase out.
And Ruston Chase was stood there. I've rarely seen that. I don't know if he knew the camera was on him. Because you could see he was standing outside the door and constantly kept looking in to see if someone else is coming. So maybe I wasn't aware of that. So that's why he was waiting to see if John Campbell was ready or not.
Yeah.
And then he very reluctantly out.
Yeah, he didn't want to risk getting timed out.
Yeah.
So Chase is batting first drop, which is a change for him. But those two will resume tomorrow with Brandon King, who made it through and who's still the top scorer for the series. Still no 100 in the series. So I'm tracking that closely on Stats Watch. So yeah, that's the situation of the game. Hall of Fame will be busy. Quick word for Maurice Blackburn, who got founded in 1919. So they predate two fast bowlers taking the new ball, because that was Jack Gregory and Ted McDonald in the early 1920s, who started that trend under Warwick Armstrong of having two opening quicks. Didn't used to be that way. Maurice Blackburn as a law firm have been around for longer than that. That is why they are extremely qualified and credentialed to look after particularly workplace matters, and particularly to help out people who don't have deep pockets to pay for expensive lawyers. They're the ones that you want to speak to if you want to see if they can help you out. They've got offices across Australia. Quick break, then the Hall of Fame. It is the final word. It's Geoff Lemon, it's Bharat Sundaresan today. I mean, we have to start with Steve Smith, of course. And there will be there'll be a lot of attention for the clock, the famous clock at Sabina Park that sits above the sight screen and has done without incident for many, many, many years, decades, in fact. But they haven't played a day-night test here before. And so when the light was shining off the glass of the clock, suddenly Steve Smith was unhappy and demanded that it come out and be swathed, be mummified, be wrapped in a. First they had a white cloth, then they got a black cloth. Yeah, they were just trying to hang a towel over it, like laundry style, and it got wrapped up. But the bit that really tickled me was at the other end, and I don't know if you were able to see this from your vantage point, because I was on the roof of the Kingston club at this point. So there was a sight screen at the other end with those slats, the louvers, where they swap one way and show an ad, and then they swap back, and they hadn't swapped back properly, and there was a guy out there from the staff trying to do them manually, trying to pull them closed because Smith wasn't happy. But then the wind was picking them up and pushing them open a little bit, and so this guy ends up lying on the ground underneath the sight screen, reaching one arm up to hold the louvers closed for the rest of the over.
I did see that.
So that Steve Smith wouldn't get annoyed. This is what it has come to with Steve Smith being annoyed at distractions, that this poor dude has to be flat on his back, stretching an arm up like he's trying to dig his way out of his own shallow grave to hold the slats back so that Steve Smith can play some almighty heaving drives and nick one to slip.
And you know what? Like maybe 10 minutes after that whole incident happened and he got out, with the clock had to be covered with the black cloth. So we generally, as a rule, don't talk about urinals on the show. But there was a toilet, a restroom on the third floor outside the broadcast box. So 5 minutes after this whole thing has happened and Steve Smith got out, I walked into the toilet and there were 1, 2, 4, 5 urinal booths. And one of them was covered in this black cloth, and I said, "Hang on, wait,
where did that cloth come from?"
And it was covered in exactly the same way the clock was. And again, as a rule, you don't take pictures in urinals, but and it's definitely not for public consumption. Maybe I'll show it to you tomorrow. Okay. Maybe it won't be there. Maybe it was.
Maybe that urinal was annoying Steve Smith as well.
Maybe it was, because it was around that same level as the dressing room and the clock.
Someone has to go in and cover the third urinal from the left. My other Hall of Fame nomination is for the security guy who was on the camera gantry. I was down there at one stage because I was wandering all around the ground today. And I was a bit curious about who's really into cricket here and who's not. And it was just when Travis Head came out and he drove his, was it first or second ball? He drove through cover for a couple. It was probably the only one that he hit relatively cleanly. So, and this guy goes, "Shot, boy," that Jamaican style. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, well, we've got a cricket fan here. This guy knows his cricket. And then he looks down there and he goes, the tall guy is gone. Is he out? I'm like, yeah, Cameron Green's out. He's like, okay. And he goes, this guy's hitting them nicely. is he a good young player? And I'm like, oh, that's Steve Smith. He has 10,000 test runs. And he's like, oh, yeah, cool. And I'm like, aha. It turns out you did not know about cricket, but you did know how to say shot boy. And then a couple of minutes later, there's like a little nurdle off the hip for one, and he's like, shot boy. And I'm like, I don't think that deserves a shot boy.
Right.
I think you just know that's what you say when someone scores a run. So shout out to you, security guy on camera gantry.
Just my final nomination has to be for poor young Kevlin Anderson. What a day he would have had. First ever day in Test cricket. He was so excited. The power move to get Craig Brathwaite, who's been dropped after playing 100 Test matches, to give him the cap. Good on Craig Brathwaite. And even that. I mean, we didn't speak about Nathan Lyon being left out.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Probably should have mentioned that for the 5th time in, I did the numbers earlier. I think it's 147 Australian Test matches have been played across the course of Nathan Lyon's career. He's been left out of 4 of them, and he's missed 3 with injury until today. So major move.
And the first time since he cemented himself in the side. So you said the
4
Ashes.
quicks. They didn't drop him because he's garbage.
He was
they
left
dropped
out.
him because they wanted 4 fast bowlers on this wicket.
So left out, dropped, like whichever way you look at it. But the fact that there were 2 players, both with 100 plus caps to their name,
and
running
Mitchell
out
Starc's
drinks
100th
today
test.
in Mitchell Starc's 100 tests. It was quite something. But at least Nathan Lyon didn't have to present the cap to the guy replacing him. So that was quite the move.
Scott Boland already has a cap.
Yeah, I know. So Craig Brathwaite had to do that.
Yep.
And probably will
That's a very dignified thing to do, though.
It is. I think it was classy of him to do that. But then he gets that. And then probably within the first 40 minutes, he drops a catch, which is difficult, but he got both hands to it. He should have taken it at third slip. So he adds the list. Maybe he just wanted to feel like he belongs in this team by dropping a catch in the slips.
You don't want to come in and make everyone else look bad by being better than them.
Oh, very much so. And then he gets told off by Alzari Joseph for being a bit too slow and allowing Steve Smith to come back for a second run on one occasion. He takes a good sharp catch on the boundary of Pat Cummins when he's slogging away. And then, because there are no openers left, he's thrown into the deepest of ends. Mitchell Starc with the pink ball, Josh Hazlewood at the other end. The first over, the first ball hits him on the pad. You can see he has no idea what is happening. Josh Hazlewood actually didn't get his radar right the 2 overs he bowled, so he picks up a couple of runs through point region. And the second over for Mitchell Starc, he's walking at Starc. He obviously has a big gap between bat and pad the way he plays. The ball keeps shaving off stump, somehow survives. In the next over, he gets 1 ball from Starc. And this time, once again, he walks at him inside, through the gap inside edge, get bowled. And Starc just runs towards him and says, "See ya, mate." And you can just see... we spoke about Brandon King not having a great first day of Test cricket. He dropped 3 catches, but at least he hit a couple of crisp boundaries. You have to feel for Kevlin Anderson, because if you think about it, I don't think he would have even realized he's opening the batting, because he was listed to come in at 3, replacing Casey Carty. But then he would have found out the moment he went back in, and they've said, put the pads on, you're going out. And it does not get more difficult than facing Starc under lights with a pink ball.
No, he is the highest pink ball wicket taker by a mile in history. And Nathan Lyon's the second highest, but he's not playing. He's played every Australian pink ball test until this one, ever.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
13 of them.
Well, I mean, he played 100 on the trot.
Yeah, had to have played them all. But if there's one thing you can say about Kevlon, if it's a mix between Kevlar, he's bulletproof, and Teflon, nothing sticks to him, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He's gonna do it well. Day night number 1 will be back for day night number 2 tomorrow. Maybe it'll be from the hammock again. We'll find out.
Maybe we might swap positions. Maybe both of us will be in the hammock.
Yeah, maybe you're in the hammock tomorrow, and we'll see what happens on day 3. We'll see how far things can escalate. This has been the Final Word Daily. West Indies, Australia. If you want to support the fact that we are making consecutive, what are they like, simultaneous Test match dailies from Lords with England and India, and from here, and I did both of them today.
You were on that one as well,
both of them tomorrow too.
That's
so I watched
2
Test matches back to back from early this morning up until about 10 o'clock tonight. So here we are. This is what we're doing. If you want to help us,
I'm sure Sri Lanka playing a Test match somewhere just for your sake.
I'm going to dial it up, and we're logging in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, the grudge match.
Oh, there you go.
Patreon.com/thefinalword is where you can support what we're doing. Thanks for listening. If you watched it, thanks for watching. And if you're Maurice Blackburn, thanks for sponsoring. This has and forever will be the final word. Geoff Lemon, Bharat Sundaresan. See you later.